Hello, everyone. A very good morning. And here we are with yet another workshop in the Unlock and Explore series. And today we are going to get started into Android development and especially actually app development with our workshop AndroidVerse. I'm Arjun Sivaraman, your host for today. And along with me, I have Aditi Chaudhary.
Hello.
So we both are app developers at Team 4 Dimension, the technical team of ITVIT. So, without any further ado, let's get started into this workshop. So, before getting on to the hands on directly, we believe that there are certain theory concepts, although I wouldn't call them theory, but there are certain concepts in app development that we should all know so that it's a spoon. Okay, so in this workshop, we'll be going through the introduction to app development. We'll be letting you all know about all the various technologies that are used, what we'll be using today to make the app, and the scope of app development in today's industry. After that, we'll be moving on a little deeper into Android OS. So when you're studying web development, you generally go through various architectures and various browser side stuff, and you get to know all of that before you start in web development, right? So, in the same way, we are also going to get a deep dive into Android OS. Following that, we'll be taking a short look into Android apps and some of the components, and then comes our deep dive into making our app. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so here at the start, I present some numbers to you all. Okay, so we've got 3 billion plus app downloads in the last year from the iOS plus the Google Play Store. We've got more than 2.6 million app developers globally. Okay, this includes cross-platform, native, iOS, Android, all those developers. And then 60% of the time in the survey we have seen that that's spent on mobile. So looking at all these figures, it's pretty much clear why app development is also becoming a very crucial form of development apart from web. Okay, so people spending more time on their mobiles, so we need also to give them the rich experience that they want, and that can be possible only through app development. You wouldn't want someone to browse through your website on a mobile, right? It doesn't give that good of a user experience. So here's why app development comes into a major play. So when we talk about app development, we majorly have two options. So one is called as native apps, and the other is cross-platform apps. Okay. So as you can see here, I got some icons on the top. So these are basically the technologies that are used in making these kind of apps. So firstly, let's come to native apps. So native apps are those which natively run on mobile OS, which are created specifically for that mobile OS. Okay, so native apps, if you can run them either on Android or you can run them on iOS, but not both with the same code base. So in order to create native apps, we use Java or Kotlin on the Android side, and Swift or Objective C on the iOS side, as these are the major players over there. Okay, so let me come to some of the benefits of native apps before moving on to cross-platform. So it gives us high speed and performance, as you all know, because we are not adding any extra layer to compile the code into the native format. Okay, it's already pre-compiled into the native format, and we are directly running it. Okay, it's more intuitive, as again because of the performance, we won't experience that much of jitteriness or lag or something like that. And when it comes to easy access to platform specific features, so platform specific features are exactly like suppose in iOS we had the 3D touch, right? But 3D touch isn't present in Android. So in order to access that 3D touch, you need something which is specific to iOS, right? So in case you're using a cross-platform app, then you'll have to create a separate part for the 3D touch, and you need to import some libraries or packages and all that stuff. And it's not really easy when you want to access something which is native to the platform. Okay. Similarly, in case of Android, also you got certain things, or if say at some Android level, there are features supported, whereas after that level, the feature is supported. So all those stuff come into play, and you'll have to create separate parts for all of that. Okay. And minimize scope of bugs as again, and easy learning curve, because you're creating a single code base, and you're also focusing on only one stuff at a time. You're not thinking about two operating systems at the same time. So and also along with this, you're getting, these are very mature technologies. Okay, they've been used since a long time. So you got a lot of blogs, you got a lot of developer websites, you got a lot of questions on Stack Overflow which have been answered. So it's really difficult that your doubt is going to go unanswered somewhere. And you got pretty good tools also for that. Like for example, Xcode and Android Studio are some of the most developed IDEs in this world. Okay, so using that, creating such apps is a breeze. Okay. And by a breeze, I'll tell you how many times when performing web development, when working on HTML CSS, every time you make some changes, you'll have to look into the browser and check whether it's been changed properly or no. Or okay, you have to manipulate it using code like 2 pixels, 3 pixels, and all that. But in Android Studio and Xcode, you get a drag and drop approach. Like you have to just drag it from one place, put it, adjust the way you want, so you get that flexibility. Okay, so that's also incorporated in the easy learning curve. You really need not know how to code the front end. Okay, if I say the appearance and the UI. Okay, so now that we talked a lot about native apps, I guess we can shift over to cross-platform apps, and you'll all know what's the difference. So here we got four technologies out here. So first is, it's the one of the most popular cross-platform technology framework, which is Flutter. Everyone must have known it's written in Dart language. We have next React Native. It's written in JavaScript. Next we have got Ionic, and you have got Cordova. Okay, so these are basically the four main technologies that are used today to build cross-platform apps. So cross-platform apps also have its own advantages and disadvantages. Okay, so if you go for the case of startups, okay, uh, okay, first let me come to this point. When you want to create an app, you'll have to pay the developer, right? And paying a developer to create two different apps, okay, you're supposed to pay two developers then, one an iOS developer and one is an Android developer. So in that way your cost increases. But if you come into case of like startups, then um, the cost that they have has to be low, right? So cross-platform apps help in reducing the cost. So with a single code base, you can develop apps for both platforms. Okay, so like I write some code in Flutter, and I can deploy that to both iOS and Android at the same time. Okay, so due to this, we also have a easy maintenance. So that's because we have a single code base. So if something goes wrong, we know that is going to go wrong in the single code base. Okay, so and we can easily check and resolve any bugs and errors, anything as such in the same code base. Okay, reduce cost as I said, and code reusability. Code reusability is basically we are using the same code for both platforms rather than writing separate codes for them. So one of the biggest drawbacks of this cross-platform apps is access to native features. Okay, as I said here. So say you're writing any app in React Native, and you want to access something that is specific only to Android or only to iOS, that you cannot access it directly. You need to get into the native part. So these apps also offer a native sort of part where you write code in native language. Okay, so in React Native I have a part where I can write code in Java. Okay, so in that case native development also comes into play. And similarly, the performance also takes a bit of a hit, but they're catching up. The hit is because they have to decompile it to another layer, okay, which will then compile it to machine code. Okay, so that's why it's taking some time, but companies are constantly working, like for Flutter 2.8 is out, and they're all working on making the performance subpar at par with the native apps. Okay, so lots of discussion on these. Let's move on. Okay, so technologies and trends, like whenever you are an Android developer, you will be presented with options. Like which stack should you start from. Okay, so as an Android developer, here are the three main stacks that people generally use. Okay, so currently, in the cross-platform race, Flutter is currently the most popular cross-platform, as you can cross-platform development tool, as you can see here, with a 42% developers using it. And next up is React Native with 38%. In the last 2 or 3 years, we have seen a rise in cross-platform app development. That's basically because of the single code base, maintainability, and reusability factors. Okay, native has seen a decline in the recent years, but it's generally a very good start whenever you want to get started with app development, because the level won't be too high and you can get into grips very easily with it. And there are some others also, but they are mostly used for maintenance purposes, like apps which are already built in those. So for that, we are using it for maintenance purposes. Okay, so in today's workshop, in order to keep things very simple, we'll be diving into native app development, and that's because cross-platform app development that don't really have something like an IDE. Okay, and it's really difficult to make beginners understand how and what's happening. Okay, with native app development, we have all that accessibility, and we have a very good ID, the best ID, Android Studio. So it's a very good tool to get started with. Okay, so let's move on to Android OS. Okay, so Android, like, I don't need to tell what's Android. This number says it all. More than I think it's 2.5 billion. Okay, 2.5 billion active Android smartphones users in the world. Okay, that's just users. With more than Android has more than 73% of the global market share. So you know how big of a market is Android. Okay, so just imagine when you're developing an app for Android, how many people have access to it. So that's something you should keep in mind. So let's get some quick facts about Android. I'm sure many of you might be knowing this, but just okay. So there are more than 400 plus Android device manufacturers. Okay, and there are more than 3 lakh different devices running Android. By different devices, I'm counting smartphones. I'm counting Android TVs. I'm counting smartwatches. I'm counting Android Auto. All of them run Android. Okay, so you got a wide range of devices in very varied forms. We got more than 27 lakh apps on the Play Store currently as of 2020 or 2021, and we have more than 6 million Android app developers globally. Okay, so out of those 29 million, we have 6 million Android app developers, and rest are of iOS and all that. So Android app developers are a major chunk of app development. Okay, so this might be a bit complex, but we are just get diving into the Android OS. Okay, so this is just basically you need to know so that you're aware of where your app is running, and when you're going on to develop complex apps, you should know which components are being used for what. Okay, so I'm going to give a short overview of the Android system architecture. Okay, and I'm going to make it really very simple for you all to understand. Okay, so let's get started. So the first layer that comes on the top is the application layer. Okay, and in this layer, all your application layer, home, your contacts app, your launcher, and all your other apps are running. Okay, so uh, any app that you run are going to run is going to run on this application layer. Next, we come to the application framework. So, when you build an Android app, you are going to know that uh, it's got various components. Yeah, when I'm continuing into app components, you'll know this. So they've got various components, okay, and each component has got a specific purpose, and that purpose is executed by this application framework. So we got an activity manager, we got a window manager, content providers, notification manager, view system, telephony package manager, resource manager, and all this stuff. Okay, so activity manager is basically a UI manager. Notification manager, you all know it manages notifications. Content providers are there in a minute. Package managers, resource managers, and the location manager. Okay, so after that we got some Android libraries. Okay, So these support the Android system. Okay, so you know what's SSL encryption, you know what's SQLite. SQLite is the Android database, you can call it. You got Surface Manager media framework to allow your media codecs and all your media files to run. And the runtime. Okay, so runtime is basically all that comes in when your app is running, when your OS is running. Okay, so the core is okay. So core is the main framework on which the app is running, and the core libraries are supporting it. As I'm just trying to keep this thing very simple. And finally, we have the Linux kernel. So as you all know, Android is nothing but Linux. Okay, so the kernel has to be there. So we got display driver, camera driver, Bluetooth driver, all the drivers and the kernel related stuff. Okay, flash memory, power management, all these come inside the Linux kernel. So this is how your Android architecture looks from the top. Okay, so we got applications, we got the application framework, we got the libraries, we got the runtime, and we got the Linux kernel. So let's move on. Okay, so fundamentals. Okay, so when we are diving into Android, so Android apps are written, or let me say native Android apps can be written using Kotlin, Java, or C++. Yes, I didn't mention C++ before, but C++ is also a language which can be used to write Android apps, because ultimately, you know, everything is again C and C++ at the bottom level. Okay, and you got the next step is bundling. So bundling is basically when I'll show you, when I'll give you the tour of Android Studio, you might be seeing, you'll see that there are many Java files, and then there are many XML files, and there are many images, there are many icons and all that stuff. Okay, so somebody has to take charge of bundling all of them and giving you something called as an APK, right? You all in your school days and all, you all must have shared APKs through ShareIt or Zapier and all these apps, right? So how does that APK get formed? So we bundle all that app features into an APK which can be shared and which can be directly installed onto your mobile device. Second form which has been released recently is something called as an Android app bundle or an AAB. So this is a non-installable. Like, you cannot install an AAB on your device, but it's a publishing format. So say you want to publish your app to Google Play Store, right? So it AAB is now the preferred and default format to publish apps to the Play Store. Okay, and it's a publishing format. Remember, it's not an installing format. So it will not have all the all the data present at the same time. Okay, so it will create an APK. So when you publish an AAB to the Play Store, it will be downloaded and then it will be made into an APK and then sign. So signing is basically like verifying the app, like the developer with the developer. Okay, so that helps in reducing the file size. So when see, so suppose an APK is 16 MB big. Okay, it's 16. No, I'm putting a very small number. Say it's 40 MB, and when you convert the same into an AAB, it's going to be just 8 MB, just 18 MB. Okay, so you see the amount of reduction that happens because this doesn't contain any of those overheads at all. When the app is downloaded from the Play Store, only then it's being converted into an APK and verified. And finally, we come to security. Okay, although Android is less secure than iOS, but still it's got a pretty good security layer. Okay, so let me just give you all a brief about how the apps run on Android. Okay, so you can visualize each app as a separate virtual machine. Okay, as a separate entity. Okay, just a separate entity, and each app will have an ID so that we don't conflict. We know which app is running at which process, and we have all the app data. We can find out using that ID. Okay, so from Android Marshmallow, it also follows the principle of least privilege. Least privilege, as in you do not give any permissions. Only the most basic permissions are asked by the app, and any other permissions that it requires, it has to ask the user for that. Okay, and at the same time, we have something called as isolation of code. So because each app runs in a separate virtual machine. Virtual machine is basically an isolation. Okay, so anything inside the virtual machine will not affect the outside. So because of that, all the apps run in isolation, and each app doesn't know what's going on in the next. In order to connect these apps, we use something called as content providers or broadcast receivers and all that stuff. But as a whole, without any connections, all these apps are isolated so that one app doesn't affect the another. Okay, so hopefully all of you are with me till now. Okay, and we'll definitely be having a Q&A session in the end. So for that, and you all can keep putting all your doubts in the chat box, and we'll be answering them at the end. Okay, so we come to our part three, which is the Android apps. Okay, so we just looked into Android OS right now. So now we are looking into Android apps, basic building blocks and functionalities. Because when you all move into Android Studio, you all should not be surprised like what's going on, what's this component, and all that. So that's why we are making it clear right from the start. Okay, so okay, so let's started with activities. Okay, so here are the four app components. Okay, activities, services, receivers, and content providers. So activities is, if I say on the playing side, it's the UI and the UX, and it's also written in XML. So it's the entry point for interacting with the user. The moment you tap on the icon of the app in the home in your launcher, the thing that's going to pop up is the activity, and the way you the place where you interact with the app, all are called as activities. Okay, next, we come on to broadcast receivers. Broadcast receivers are basically listeners. Okay, you know what's a broadcast, right? You're sending data to everyone, and then everyone who's there, they're listening for the data, and then they're processing it. So broadcast receivers are basically listeners, and they deliver some of the events. So like suppose you receive the notification. Okay, so that is a broadcast receiver, and your app will know that it's received a notification, or your app is sending an event of a notification, so the entire Android system knows about it. It can be two both ways. Okay, so intents, widgets, and notifications. Okay, widgets, you all know, you all, there's widgets on your home screen and other screens, right? Intents are basically you're transferring from one activity to another. So all of you must have tapped on notifications, right? So when you tap on the notification, the relevant app opens. So that's sending a broadcast that, okay, so this is my app. You have to open this app when I tap on this notification. So that's a broadcast receivers. That's the role of the broadcast receiver. Services, I don't think I need to go in there because it's a pretty generic name. So services are basically things that happen on the background, on the foreground. Okay, so they keep the app running in the background. So suppose you're downloading some app from Google Play, you close Google Play, but still the app is downloaded in the background. Okay, so services, they don't have any UI element as such, but they are processes which run in the background. They can even run on the foreground. They can be listening for notifications, anything. Okay, so but the main purpose is to be used in the background. The app is generally alive. If I say, if you're not closed it, it's called to be alive. Okay, if the app is alive, even then, even if uh, you shut down the activities through the services, they are still alive in the background and going on for all their processes. Okay, and finally we have content providers are one of the most important app components, and that's because they are used to share the data between the apps. Just imagine when you download a new say messaging app from the Google Play Store. How come it gets all those messages which are present in your Android device, whereas only the default messaging app will have access to it, right? So that's called as sharing of data. And content providers are basically, they are pieces from where you can access specific data. So there's a content provider for SMS, there's a content provider for alarms, for calendar, and you got so many content providers. So suppose I create a calendar app tomorrow, and when I publish it to the Play Store, and when you download it, my calendar app will be accessing something called as a calendar content provider, and from that, that's a central store where it's got all your calendar events, and that's what is sending the data to all the calendar apps. Even your default calendar app is getting the data from that content provider. So when I create an app, when I create a calendar app, so it's going to pull out data from the same store, from the same content provider, and it's going to display it to you. So that's why you get the you get the same data at both places. So that's what content providers are used for. And finally, before we get into the tour, we have something called as app vitals. Okay, so app vitals are, or these are basically the main building blocks, the main parts of any app. So we got the manifest file. Manifest file is generally your table of contents, or if I say the information, you got each and the preface, each and every information about the app, say your app name, your app package, your Android SDK level, everything is present in the manifest file. Next, we got the app requirements. App requirements, as in, uh, you go something called as an Android SDK. That's basically a development level. Okay, so say Android SDK level 25 will have some features which are improved upon by Android level 26. So if you want to use those levels in Android SDK level 26, you'll have to keep your app's minimum level to that SDK level, right? So that's basically matching your app with all the features. So suppose you develop any app for Android level 24, like, so okay, let me make simple. Suppose you develop any app for Android 7 and Nougat and higher, and you want to use some features which are present only in Android 8. You cannot do that, right? Because your app has to it the app has to run on all the devices. So you got two options: either you make the app available to only Android 8 and above, or you keep a specific condition that it will run only if the app is running on an Android OS 8 and above. Okay, so after that, we got app resources. Resources are basically anything apart from your XML files and your Java files and your scripts. Okay, so that's basically your images, that's your icons, that's your themes, your styles, your colors, your any strings that you have stored, all that come under app resources. Next, we have app permissions. That is, we got the there's from Android Lollipop and above, from Android Marshmallow and above. To be honest, all apps have to ask for permissions. So say you are making a location tracking app or something, right? Your app cannot just directly start tracking the location of the user. Your app has to ask the user first whether I can access your location or not, and whether I can read your messages or not, whether I can answer phone calls for you, and all that. Okay, so this is a very basic part of making any app when you're using any specific functionality or when you're asking any user data. Okay, app interactions are generally done using activities and services. I'll get back to you. And app libraries. So app libraries are basically bits of code which are written by somebody else, and you're integrating into your app. Okay, so you must have heard about libraries such as Retrofit, Volley, or Material UI. So these are all libraries which are not included by default. You'll have to incorporate them into your Android app by passing in certain dependency, or by downloading them and then using it in your app. So these are external code written by somebody else. Okay, so that's pretty much it. And let's, without any further ado, let's get started with the Android Studio 2. So just give me a moment till I switch to Android Studio. Okay, so okay, so hopefully my screen is visible. Let me just increase the font size a bit. Size. So we got, as you can see here, this is the default folder structure that has been given by Android Studio. Okay, you got here, you got manifest, you got Java, you got assets, res, Gradle scripts. So, okay, I'm coming to all of this in a moment. So app is your app. Okay, it's your project. It's the main part of your project. It's a module. If I say, if this entire screen is your project, this app is a module. Okay, so you can modularize your app into different components, and then bundle all of them together when you're publishing the app. So for now, we have got only one module over here. So inside manifest, as you come here, so we got this Android manifest.xml. So this is a very important part of your Android app. Without this file and without this exact naming, your app is not going to run anywhere. Okay, so this is an app which tells the Android system what all to use, what all to call at certain times, or what package is it about. Okay, so as you can see here, we got the package name. This is the unique identifier for your app. Okay, so no two apps in the entire Android ecosystem can have this and can have the same package. So this is how the Android system as well as the Play Store is going to identify your app uniquely. Next, when I I come to permissions. Okay, so as I told you before, we got to ask the user some kind of permissions when we are using. So these are very basic permissions, and this we are just letting the Android system know that we are going to use these permissions. We don't need to ask the user for some other permission. For example, now if I just write a new permission and with the name read SMS, so now this is a user specific permission, and I need to ask the user whether I can access his SMS, I can read it through his SMS or not. Next, we come on to the application. So this has the entire info of all your application details. So we got the app icon. So this is what will be displayed in your Android launcher. We got the app name here. We got the app theme here, and we have to mention all the activities that are present in this app. Okay, see, I got 5 or 6 activities, and I need to let the Android system know that I got all these activities, so these are going to be called at any time and all that. And as you can see, also got a service over here. So this is basically a notification service. This is going to be listening for notification, and when the notification arrives, it's going to get it back to it's going to direct the user to my app. Okay, so this is basically I've done using cloud Firebase. So it's a notification service. Okay, and finally we got something called intent filter. This is nothing intent filter. Here we are just specifying which activity to launch when the user opens our app. Okay, so here I've set the activity as a splash screen. So I want, when the user opens my app, I want him to see a splash screen, and from the splash screen I can direct him anywhere. Okay, so this is the first screen that's going to be launched, and then you got some metadata and all that stuff. So this is the manifest. Next, you got some Java files. So Java files are like your, if you can compare it to web development. So when HTML, CSS are your UI UX layers, JavaScript is what adds functionality, right? So similarly, here Java is used to add that functionality. So if you go into main activity and see, main activity is like your is the main int main, you write int main, right? In your C++ code. So similarly, main activity is that first activity which is the main activity. Okay, so here we got lots of code and all. We all write this in Java. We can even link it with the UI and all. So I'm not going in depth, so we'll be going Aditri will be talking about this in the hands-on. So I'm just giving you all a tour about what's all there. You write all Java code over here. Okay, writing clean code is really important for you, and because you need to debug it later, it's going to cause a problem if you can't find what's written where. Next, we got this assets folder. So assets folder are generally huge big files. If you got gifs, if you got some videos that you need to play, you all put it in assets. Next, we come into res. So res stands for resources. Okay, so resources stands for, here I got an animations folder, I got a colors folder. If you go here, I got some colors for specific components over here. Okay, then we got drawables. So if I click over here and give it a second to load. So see, this is just a circle. It's just a circle image, and this drawable I can images, like basically images are called drawables over here. So these can be called in anywhere in the app, in the UI. Okay, and I got an arrow, I got an assistant. So these are all icons. Okay, and we got layout, font, any external font that you want to get into the app. It's called into the font folder. All these folder structures are necessary for the Android system, and also for you to know where which component is residing. So next we come on to layout. So this is one of the most important parts. This is where your UI resides. Okay, so it'll just give me a moment. Yeah, so as you can see, I've just made a very basic layout over here, and you got so many things. So all these things will come into the action when I run the app, not now. So as you can see, I've made a UI over here, and you can easily drag and drop anything over here. So this is what I was talking about, drag and drop, and you got all your constraints and everything visible out there. Okay, so that's going to ease your work. And you also got this code. Okay, so we as developers are not very satisfied with the drag and drop stuff. So sometimes those edge cases and all this perfection, to make it very perfect, we use code, and we can edit each and every attribute, each and every part of this design using this code. Okay, so this is your it's written in XML, not HTML. This is XML. Okay, It's extensive markup language. And here you go, you got text views, you got linear layouts. We'll all come back to this in a moment. Then you got something called as a menu. This is for navigation. Min map, map map is for icon sets. Values. So values me you got colors and all. So I've defined a lot of colors over here, and I can use them anywhere in the entire project by just calling by this name. Okay. So I don't need to remember all these hex codes and all this stuff. So I can call them by the name. So that's why I mentioned all these colors over here. And you also have something called as strings. So these are basically strings which I use repeatedly anywhere in the app. Okay, so I need to just call them by this name. I can call them by app name and all this stuff. Okay, so I can use them anywhere in the entire app. So that's why I've placed all of them at a single place. Next, you got themes, and you here Android gives you two files, which is for the light mode and of course dark mode. Like everyone loves dark mode today, so I don't think anyone is going to use any app which doesn't have dark mode. Okay, so styling for dark mode is absolutely necessary in today's day and age. Okay, and finally we come to something called as Gradle scripts. So Gradle, as I told you, you need a bundler, right? So Gradle does that job for you. It bundles your Java and your XML and all your assets, your resources and all that stuff. It builds it into a single APK. Okay, you have this build option, right? Okay, so it will build into a single APK, and also when you run the project, it's going to compile all of that and give you a single package. So I'm not going too much into this. You got some dependencies and all that stuff going on here. And if you see here, so these are the all of the external Android libraries. When I spoke about libraries, right? So I've imported some of the libraries over here as dependencies. So I've imported the Kotlin dependency. I've imported Firebase over here. I've imported the material UI and all that stuff. So as in any project grows, you're going to import more and more dependencies and use them to ease your work. Okay, so and here you got all your app options. I got an Android emulator over here and got the run option, and then you got all your Git options over here. When you link your project to a Git repository, you got all those Git functions over here. And that's pretty much it. So we are going to move into the hands-on phase right now. But before that, let me just show you a quick setup. So hopefully everyone has installed Android Studio, right? And so in order for you to watch the app running in your own device or in your own setup, you need to follow certain steps. Okay, so it's okay if you haven't installed Android Studio yet. That's fine. You can even install it. I think you had a link which was put at the beginning of the workshop. So for that, for using that, you can install. Okay, so you got two ways in which you can run apps. Okay, one is using a built-in Android emulator. So you can view the app in your PC itself. So those who've got emulators, you're set. Okay, the second thing is you can run even your app on your mobile device. Okay, so I'm going to just brief you all out how to set that up. Okay, so all you have to do is take any Android phone which is running Android Nougat and above, Android N and above. Okay, and go to settings, about phone, and there either inside software information or in plain sight, you will be able to find something called as the build number. So just keep tapping on that. It will say 3 steps away from being a developer, 2 steps away being a developer, and 1 step. And finally, when you tap on it one more time, just keep tapping. It will say developer mode has now been enabled. Okay, so when you go back to your settings screen and just scroll to the bottom, you'll see that there is a new developer options tab. Okay, so click on that tab and search for USB debugging. So USB debugging is basically to allow your computer to interact with your phone via the USB. Okay, and turn it on. Okay, now connect the phone to your PC or Mac, and then you should get a pop up on your phone whether to allow this device to access your data or not. So give it the permissions, and then you'll see that in Android Studio, the device will be detected on top. As I showed you, beside the run button, it will be detected on top. Okay, so when you're done with that, I'll just ask everyone to just give a thumbs up in the chat when you're all ready with Android Studio. and done setting up your mobile device, we'll just be waiting for a minute or two, and then we'll be starting with the Android hands-on session. I'm just keeping this screen on. Okay, so quickly set up, and while we wait. Okay, so meantime, you can also ask any questions on the chat, and let's keep the enthusiasm high.
Yeah. Post your favorite emojis in the chat if you have downloaded the Android Studio.
Okay, so up to you, Aditri. So she'll
Yeah.
be taking the workshop from here. I'll stop screen sharing. Yeah, up to you.
Yeah. So just a second. Hello. Yes, I hope you have downloaded the Android Studio. So let's get started. Before, let's go to the file and create a new project. We click on new and then new project. We select an empty activity and click on next. Then let's just name our app as we'll be going to make a app named IQ Tester. So let's name it IQ Tester. So I'll name it too because yeah, and we'll be coding this in Java. Okay, and see, we'll be a minimum SDK. We are giving it as Android 5.0 Lollipop, and our app will run approximately at 98% of devices. So as Arjun told before, that it allows the user to ask permission. Yeah, so let's just click on finish, and a new project will. Yeah, so by the time this project is loading, I'll just show you that what we are actually going to make. So we're going to make an app called an IQ tester, where uh, you know wherein you'll be given some question, and you need to say like you need to just click yes or no whether the question is correct or not, and you'll be given time of 30 seconds, and out here they'll show display your score. So if you get a correct answer, you'll get plus 10. And yeah, this is all it. So let's just get started. Yeah, so our first time when you're loading a new project, it just takes some time, so just hang on. So let me tell you this. So this is the main activity Java file where we are going to code the backend part, where like backend, yeah. And this is the XML file where we'll be designing the front end and the UI for our app. So yeah. So see, here you can already see hello world is written. You can also like play around here. I can also delete. So you can also design UI using this attribute drag and drop. Yeah, and then you can also code. So let's toggle. So here I can also code, and if I split, so suppose I'm just cutting off my button. So see, when I'm doing something in code, and it's already reflecting in design, so it's much easier to code, as it saves a lot of time, it gives perfection. And you can also, like when you need to add two or three same things, you can just copy paste, and then it's a lot easier. So yeah, let's get into the front end part first. Okay, So let's change the constraint layout. Select the constraint layout and let's change it to relative layout. So yeah, the layout. So you see relative layout is opening here and you need to check whether it's closing also. So keep that in mind. Okay. And see, as we saw earlier, so yeah, let's add a linear layout. Linear layout is basically like a box. We're gonna add content to it. So opening parenthesis linear layout. Yeah, we'll make the width as match parent and height as wrap content. So match parent is basically it's covering the whole thing from side to side, and the whole width it's covering. And height, whatever the content we'll have, it will only cover that much portion. So we have set that to wrap content and width as match parent. Now let's set the orientation to vertical. So vertical, after putting our orientation to vertical, all our contents will be one after another. Okay, so we'll be vertically displaying the things. So now let's close it. So we'll close the bracket and here it goes. So inside this linear layout, we'll be putting three text views. Okay, text views are basically they'll help us display text. So first one will be for your score, the second one will be for time left, and the third one will be for question. Okay, so open bracket, text text view with, we'll keep it as wrap content and even height as wrap content. Okay, and see, in order to we need to use this UI in our Java activity. We'll link both of them. So for that, every view should have its own ID, unique ID, because we're going to call them, no? So every view will have a unique ID. So let's assign an ID for this. And as the first one will be uh, giving a text view for your score, so let's keep an ID simple, your score. Done. Now let's give the color text size. So just give the text size to something around. Let's give it 30 SP. I guess that will. So SP is basically the measurement for our text. Okay, we'll be using, like, we have centimeter, meter. So in this we have SP, and let's set the text as your score. See, it's already visible here. Let me zoom and show you. See, okay, cool. See, we're coding and simultaneously is reflecting us in design. Let's set the color as text. Color as, see, there are already some built-in colors option they're showing. So I'll just select purple. Okay, any color of your choice you can select. And done. See, but it just like something seeming off. We want it to be like in a little bit of middle and little bit down. So let's we'll keep the give layout gravity as center horizontal. So basically the full layout, we are making it horizontally center. Okay, and then let's bring it a little bit down. So let's keep margin top as around the 50 dp. Okay, so see, in text size we used SP, but for margin, for defining the length, we used DP. Okay, cool. See, it's already down, it's looking nice. You can adjust it according to you, like whatever you like. Done. So yeah, I guess pretty much done. So now let's close it. So backslash, yeah, and it's closed. Now we want, let's copy paste this again because we want for time left. So copy and paste. See, we are getting an error for the ID. As I told you, every view should have its own unique ID. So let's change the ID to time left, yeah, and even the text. And yeah, I guess we can change the color also. See, color now I'll show you how to change it through design. So you can see I can code and simultaneously even change from design. So when I click on this view, I go to attribute and then I type text. See out here. Yeah. So out here, when you click here, you can browse and change color accordingly. So I'll keep the color as red. Time left. Yeah. So now I guess the size is pretty cool. Let's just increase the margin top value to somewhat around 15 dp. All right. Yeah. I guess it's looking better now. Okay, now let's copy paste again for the question. Oh shit. Yeah. So now let's change the ID to question. Okay. And let's just give some, demo. Anything, any question like 20 plus 30 equals to 40. You can give right, wrong, anything. Yeah. And let's let's increase the margin top. Let's bring it a little bit down. So I'll just give it 25. Yes, yeah, it looks better. And I'll change the color. Black. Yeah, I'll change the color to black. And you can also give your text style. So see, when I type text style, I get three options whether I can choose bold, italic, or normal. So I'll choose bold. And I'll also increase the text size. So I'll make it around let's make it around 40 sp something. Yeah, it looks better. So are you guys done? I guess I'll make it at 50. It'll look more better. Yeah. So we are done with the top view. Basically, we can say we had in the first linear layout we had three text view. In that we had your score, time left, and question. Okay, moving down, we'll be having two buttons, yes or no. So with that, again, we'll create another linear layout. And we will keep the width as match parent and height as wrap content again. And in this, we will give the orientation as horizontal because we want yes or no to be side by side. Okay, so the orientation will give it as horizontal. Cool. Now let's close it. Okay, so inside this linear layout, we'll be having two buttons, right? So let's create open bracket button, and that let's keep the width as wrap content and even the height as wrap content. Okay, and we'll give ID to it. ID as yes button. Cool. And then let's give text inside it as yes. So as you can see, it's informed here. And let's change the color. Text color, I guess black will look better. Black and background tint. Let's change it to. I'll better use the attribute because I'll have more option. Background tint. I will choose it somewhat light shade of green. So I guess okay. Wait. Mm, yeah, I guess this looks better. See, see the color code has already come here. Black background tint and the code is here. So I just randomly chose it from there. Okay, and I guess okay. Now I'll give a margin. Oh wait, no. I guess I'll make it a little bold. The text style. Yeah, it looks pretty good. Now just close, or you can just do. Yeah, done. So let's copy paste the same thing for no button. Copy paste. Yeah, we'll change the ID. No button. Let's change the text to no color black. Let's change the background tint to somewhat red color. It'll look better. You can change it according to your will. I'm just doing whatever I feel it's better. So yeah, I guess it looks good now. Now let's bring this whole linear layout where we have two buttons to the bottom. Okay. So what we'll do, uh, align. Yes, we have align. See, align parent bottom. We'll mark it true. Okay, and we want it to be at center, right? So let's make gravity as center. So see, out here we used Android gravity center, and above we had used layout gravity center horizontal. So basically the difference between the two is layout gravity shifts the whole layout to the center. Okay, and only the gravity, what it does, whatever it is there inside it, it only shifts that to center. Understood? So it's not shifting the whole layout, it's just shifting whatever is in there. Cool. Yeah, I guess, yeah, but still, I guess there should be some space now between both the buttons. So we can do is we can just give some margin between the two buttons. So let's write margin, layout margin, and we'll give it around 10 pp. Cool, I guess, yeah, yes, button is placed. Let's do that same for no button. Margin 10 pp. Cool, I guess, yeah, it looks better now. Okay, and what we can do more is we can also bring this both buttons a little bit more up. It's total at the bottom. So what we'll do, we'll just raise the layout, linear layout, and layout margin, we'll give it 10 dp. I guess let's give it 15 dp. Yeah, it's better now. Okay, so let's do what? I guess almost the front end is done, but it's looking a little bit blank. So let's change the background color of this whole relative layout. Okay, so let's click on relative layout. Here. And then let's go to attribute and background. Let's go to background, and I'll make it somewhat light shade of yellow. I guess it look better now. Yeah, it looks better. You can do according to your will, like whichever color you want, you can choose. So I guess the front end part is done. If you liked it, just send some emojis in the chat box. Or if you have, if it's this your first, app which you're building and you're done with the front end, so congratulations. Now let's go. Let's code the back end. Like what happens, when we click on the button, then how is it, um, updating the score, and how is the time being updated. So before that, we I'll just give you 2 minutes. Just if you have any doubts, you can post it in the chat box. So yeah, so that whatever views we have created it in the XML, we need to find that first in our Java file, correct? So let's first initialize it. So yeah, text view. We had three text view. We had your score, time left, and question, right? So let's give a name your, and then underscore score. We had time left, and another we had question. So let's not give it the same name because we can get confused. So I'll just give it quest. All right. Now we had button also. So we'll initialize it as yes. Then comma. mm, All right. Now let's. So this is the on create part. Is the part where it links are the main activity with the XML file. All right. So let's find this views in our on create method. All right. So your score was find view by ID. You write capital R dot ID dot and your score. So we have found your score in our on create method. Okay. So let's do this. Let's do same for all of them. Left, we have this. For button also we'll do the similar thing. Cool. So we have found all our UI in our on create method. So for generating new question, let's create another function called called create new question. Okay, so wherein we'll call that function and a new question will be generated. So in that new question, we'll have two numbers. Okay, randomly we'll generate any two numbers and the result will be displayed. So sometimes we want the result to be correct and sometimes we want the result to be incorrect. So randomly it will also generate, the result. Like sometimes it'll be correct and sometimes it'll be incorrect. Okay. So yeah, let's do that. Let's create a function. Private. We will create it within this main activity class because we are coding it in Java, right? And below the on create, after the on create function is over, we'll create after that. Okay. So private void create new question, right? And we'll initialize the numbers. We'll have two numbers, int a and int b, right? Two numbers, and we'll have a result. So int result, and result will be equal to a plus b, right? Cool. Yeah. So now, so the number will be generated randomly. So for that, what we'll do is a equals to new random dot int next int, and we'll keep the range as 50. Like the numbers will be random numbers will be displayed till 50. Okay, and we'll do the same for the second number, new random dot next int, same will be there till 15. Yeah, cool. Now, so randomly it will be displaying some numbers till 50, and I'll add it up, and that will be the result. And so for the answer, sometimes it will be correct and sometimes it will be wrong. So for that, let's generate a uh, boolean thing. So so randomly it will generate true sometime and false sometime. So let's create that globally, okay? So we can access that through other functions also. So boolean is result, right? Cool. Now is result right equals to new random dot next boolean. Cool. So if is result. So if we have to generate the correct answer, to generate the correct answer, what will we do? We'll just make, so the result will remain the same. So we'll just, let's create a string my question. Okay, so in that we'll display a space plus space b space equals to space result, right? So a plus, oh, I forgot a plus here. And else will show incorrect result, will show wrong result. Okay, so let's just create a fake number that will randomize, that will generate random number up to 5. Okay, so int fake equals to not next int 5, and we'll add that up to 1. So suppose if it generates 0, so actually the fake will be 1, and we add this fake number to our result. Okay, so that ways we generate an incorrect result. Done. Okay, now let's create a string for this one. String Let's just copy paste. Wrong result. Result, right? Yeah, we're pretty much done with it. And let's see, the function is not active till now because we're not calling it. We're not calling this function anywhere, right? So see, let's call it below on create new function. See, now it's activated. It's has changed the color from gray to yellow. Cool. Yeah. So we have already created a function for onCreate. Matlab, we have created a function for generating a new question. So yeah, I'll just run and show once. Okay, what is it actually looking like? So actually, see, okay, you can see Gradle build is running. So here is my emulator virtual device. So just wait for a second, running. It's taking time. See, it's installing the APK in the virtual device. Now it's fine. See, now it's showing some random 20 plus 30 equals to 40, some random number. Okay, now let's just now let's update the score. Cool. So I'll just create a string score equals to your score 0, and we'll assign we'll set this text. Done. Cool. So now let's just see. There's nothing going on with the button, right? So let's call the button here. Okay. So what we'll do, we'll type yes button equals to wait just a second. Yes button dot set on click listener. The first thing we just enter, and then new view. So in view we have say on click listener and this curly brackets. So we just enter that. See, automatically it our function is created. And we'll do same, we'll call no button set on click listener new view on click listener. Done. Now in this so we'll so we have to access this numbers through this button because the result is correct. Then so let's just make this to a global variable. Cut and paste it here. Okay, and let's initialize a variable name current result where okay where so if the result is correct, if you have to show the correct result, so the current result will be result, right? And if you have to show the wrong result, so the current result will be equal to wrong result, right? Cool. Done. Yeah. Now, if okay, so result equals to equals b. If current if result is if the current result is equal to the result, the actual result. Okay, so the user's answer is correct. Okay, let's use it, right. So else, so cool. Let's do the same for the no button. Okay, mm, if the current what I'm doing is the result is not equals to the current result. So in no button, if the result is not equal to the current result, then the user's answer is correct. Else, right. So yeah, okay, yeah, done. Now, um, let's so if the user's answer is correct, then we'll call the function create new question. Okay, and same for the no button. We'll call the function create new question. Right. Now let's update user score. All right. So I'll so if the score is correct, if your answer is correct, then your score will be updated. Like it will, plus 10 will be added, and if your answer is wrong, the game will be terminated. Okay. So let's create a global variable and user score. Let's initialize it to 0. Cool. Let's create a function for update user score. Okay, let's just below the create new question function, let's create another function for update user score. Right. Okay, so yeah, the answer is correct. We get plus 10. So equals to 10. Okay, and let's create string score equals to your score plus user score. Alright, and let's show this in the text view. Your score dot set text as score. Alright, so we're pretty much done with updating the score. So let's call this update score in a yes or no button. So if you get a correct answer, we'll call this update score. Similarly, in the yes button, we are updating the score to plus 10 and we're calling new question. All right. Now, see, when your time is up or your answer is wrong, so what we'll do, we'll terminate the game. So, when we terminate a game, where a dialog box will appear, it will have a title as game over and it'll show your test score, and it will also have a button, play again button, wherein you click the button and again the game restarts. Okay, timer also restarts. So let's create a dialog box. So for that, let's initialize alert dialog equals to alert dialog. Okay, now let's create a function again below the update user score function. So our function name will be private void on game over. So the dialog box will appear when our game is over, right? So yeah, let's build the dialog box. The new alert, alert dialog dot builder, and we're linking this to this main activity dot this set title game over, and dot will set message as our text, our score, user score. So set message as your score equals to plus user score. All right. So now there'll be a button, right, for play again. So dot set positive button. We'll set that positive button, and in that button the text will be play again. Play again. And then just comma, and we'll call on click listener for it. No, so what happens when we click on the button? So we write new dialog interference. The first thing recommended. See, dialog interference dot on click listener and curly brackets. We'll just enter that, and voila, our thing is there. Function is showing, and see, out here we're getting an error. What we'll do is see, basically the dialog box will be shown, and we can also just do back and the dialog box will disappear and you can just continue the game. So we don't want that. We want everything to be freezed, and we want that the game only resumes if you click on the play again button, right? So let's just set cancelable. We'll set it true. So we'll set it false. All right. So yeah, now we have done that. Okay, so in when the person clicks on play again, the user's score should be 0. Okay, so user score equals to 0. Let's create a string again. User score equals to user score, and and after updating the user score to 0, we'll call create new question. All right. And see, we have built the alert dialog box, but we have initialized it further, right? Remember, globally you have to link this also. So just before that, let's make it alert dialog dot builder, builder equal to this. Now let's we will add the builder to the dialog. Okay, so this builder will add it to our alert dialog. So we just create it, alert dialog equals to builder dot create, and we also even have to show that, right? So alert dialog dot show. All right, so we are almost done. So see, we have created a we had created a new function for creating a new question. A new question will be randomly updated, and we have created for a function for updating our score, and also a function when our game's over and the dialog box is when the dialog box will appear. So we have built that and we have created it. So we need to call this, right? So we'll call this on else part in our yes and no button. So whenever the answer is wrong, we'll call that time, right? So on game over. Similarly, out here, let's do it on game over, right? So yeah. So just keep going. If you have any doubt, just leave it on the chat box. Now, see what is left. We have almost covered half of our app. So we have updated the score, we have updated the question, we have set the backend code for yes and no button, what happens when we click the yes button, what happens when we click no button, and if answer is correct, then a new question will be called and the score will be updated, and if the answer is wrong, the game will terminate and the dialog box will appear. Cool. So what we can do, we also want to set the timer. All right, so let's globally define um, countdown timer. Countdown timer, also timer. So what this timer does? This timer counts backward. Counts backwards. So it's like 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, like that. So it's a countdown timer. So we are calling this initializing this timer. Let's create a function for this again for updating the timer. All right. So private void timer. Right. So timer equals to new countdown timer. Yeah. So see, you can see on tick we have nearly until finished and on finish, and see out here we have to give a semicolon in Java. Semicolon is very important, and see the timer is in milliseconds. So we have to convert a second into millisecond, and as we know, 1 second is equals to 1,000 millisecond, right? So let's keep a timer for 30 seconds. So initially, when it starts, the 1 second is gone, like just so let's keep it as 31 seconds. So just 1 second is added more, better. Okay, so 31,000 for 31 seconds, right? And the interval will keep it as 1 second. So 1 second is equals to 1,000 milliseconds. So 1000. All right. So on tick, what we have to do? Let's create a string. We'll in that string we shall show 31 seconds, not 31,000. So we'll convert this millisecond to seconds. All right. So just what will I'll just write time left converter or something like that. Anything. Okay. And in the string first we'll have time left. All right. And then we'll convert this milli until finished to seconds. So bracket milli until finished by 1000. Okay. And we also want to show second after it, right? So space, just write second. Better now. Now let's set this text in the time left text view. Time left dot set text time left converter. All right. So yeah. So on finish. So when the time is up, the game should terminate, right? So we'll call on game over. We'll call on game over function. All right. So let's call that function on game over. All right. So we also need to start the timer. So after this, within this function only, let's start the timer. Timer dot start. Cool. So we have also made a function for updating our timer. So yeah. So see, there'll be a problem. When just let I guess I'll just run and show you once. Wait, I have to call this function also, no? So I'll call this timer in the create new function only at the bottom of create new function. So whenever a new question is uh, created, so that time only the timer will start. The timer will keep updating. Okay. So countdown timer. We'll call it in create new function. So yeah, I guess pretty much we're done. Let me see once. I'll just run and show you once. Okay. See, the timer is not getting updated, so we need to show that. Wait, play again. Everything else is working. So let's. Okay. Uh, okay. So on game over, what we'll do is time left. We'll set the text as right, and we'll also cancel the timer if it's none. Cancel. Okay. Uh, we'll also do the same in the countdown timer. I forgot to do that. So that if the timer is null, we'll cancel it. If it's not equals to null, we'll cancel it. And we'll cancel it. Yeah. We have done pretty much everything. Wait, I'll just check once. Yep. Oh, I guess it should. Yep, we've done that. Update user score. Let's check our code once. If it's all correct. Yep. Done. Okay, we have not set this. Just see what we have done. We've just created the string, but the question we need to assign it to the question text view, right? So I missed that. I'm sorry. Let's set it. Uh, my question. Okay, let's do the same for this also. Copy. Okay. So pretty much, I guess. Done. Mm, 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 mm. I'm just checking my code once. Uh, Anything is missing. So I just just give some space. It's more readable, and I'll keep this before that. Yeah, this is pretty much done. So let's run it again. Okay, hopefully it does. It's starting the virtual device, and it's installing the thing. I think it's not should be. See, yeah, uh, still play again. Okay, see, so the time left is not updating. So yeah, I need to update that. Mm, then I've missed something. So did you call it here? Just check once. So I did it. Oh, so where am I having problem? Let's just see. I'm calling it an update score, right? Taking new question. Okay, see what I've done. I have done like I put this in the else part. It should be the in the entire class, like at the bottom of this whole entire class, right? So yeah, now I guess it should be updating the timer hopefully. What happened? Wait, I'm just having some problem with my emulator. Okay, so I'm having some problem with my emulator. So it's more advisable, to connect to run this apps on your phone, by connecting through USB. So my emulator is showing some problem, but then okay, wait. Let me try again. Hopefully it works. Yeah, so it's working. See, so if it's correct, see plus 10. No, see, I give a wrong answer, and the time left is gone to 0 second, and your score is 30, it's showing here game over, your score 30, and when you do play again, the timer starts again and your score is changed. Okay, so pretty much that's it. Now I'll also show you how to push your code to your GitHub. Okay, and you have Git installed for it. Okay, so let's just go to the website GitHub and create a new repo. Okay, so this is my so yeah, so I'll give this repo name as just loading. IQ tester. We'll make it public and just create repo. So yeah, we're going to stay in this page. So just a sec. So what we'll do is we'll go out here to Git. No, wait. Oh, what I'm doing. I've just opened another project. Yeah. So this is the project. No. So let's just go to VCS at the top, and we have enable version control integration. So we click on that and see select a version control system to associate with the project root. We have selected Git. Okay. And then out of C we have Android. And we'll click on that and we'll click. So the first folder we have, we'll right click on it, and then all the way down we'll go to the Git. Okay. We'll click on that and we'll add. So yeah, when we add, then again we'll go to the Git and we'll do commit. Okay, so just write any commit message. Thank you. Custom, something like that. App commit. So there are some warnings, just commit anyways. Okay, so see now it has turned. So now we'll go again to the Git and we'll push this project. So in define remote, we'll click define remote and we'll paste the URL of our repo which we have created. So we'll copy this and paste it here. All right. So okay, and we'll push it to our GitHub repo. Yeah, so it has already been pushed. So again, we'll go to our repo, we'll refresh and see our project has been added to the GitHub. So we'll link our repo in the chat box. You can check it out if you have any problem or any doubt. Okay, all right, so that's it. So yeah, um, so if you have any doubt, ask us. And if you enjoyed the session, just send your favorite emojis. And if this was your first app which you created, congratulations. I hope you like it.
So it's now Q&A time, and we got all these questions. Yeah. So can you tell me the difference between equals method and quality operator in Java? Okay. So we got two ways of comparing strings or integers or booleans. Okay, so equals method first of all is only used for strings. Okay, it's only used for strings, and there we compare them using the alphabetical order, whereas in equals we equals can compare integers, any data types we can compare it using equals to. But what it does is it checks for the equality on both sides. Okay, like it has to be true and true, false and all that kind of an equality. But whereas in equals it checks for each and every letter of the string. So that's why we always prefer that we use equals instead of the equality operator in case of strings. Even if you work on Android Studio, you'll see that Android Studio gives a warning to use equals over the equality operator when you're comparing strings. Yeah, okay. So I'll take this. So static keyword is basically a Java concept. It's an object oriented concept. So by static keyword, if I put forth it in simple terms, it makes your object accessible by all other classes. Okay, so say at top you, and it cannot be changed. Okay, so say you put the static keyword like public static and some variable out there. So that variable can be accessed in any of the other classes. Okay, so say you are going to main activity, and in that you have a public static, say some integer. Okay, and when you want to access it in some other class, say the splash activity. So what you do that you can use it like this: the main activity dot that boolean. So it makes it accessible to all other classes. Can you go for this, Aditya?
Um, uh, you can go. I'm not really sure. Actually, I'm just
Okay, yeah.
prepared
So,
speaking.
so grid layout is okay. So Android Studio has got various types of layouts, right? So you got grid layout, you got linear layout, and all that stuff. Generally, in the UI layer, we do not prefer nesting of various layouts. Okay, because that will add time. So suppose you nest a linear layout inside a linear layout. So first the linear layout itself will be generated, and then another linear layout inside that, and then another linear layout, and then its components. So by doing that, you're adding more and more time, because each component is being rendered one after the another. So it's going to take a lot of time and put burden on your UI. Whereas if I tell in simple terms, grid layout, it doesn't it offers inbuilt nesting. Okay, and it takes care of all that those times for nesting, and it renders all of them at the same time. Okay, so that's why we should prefer a grid layout. Okay, so why to prefer native app development rather than cross-platform development? Okay, so in the beginning, I had mentioned that we need that cross-platform development allows us to have a single code base and all that stuff. Okay, so but there is one problem with native apps. That is, there's one problem with cross-platform apps, and that is, it makes it one difficult. It makes it's difficult to learn, and second, it also cannot access very platform-specific features. Okay, so like if you're building something which is very specific to Android or very specific to iOS, and you want the performance to be top notch, then you have to definitely prefer native app development. If performance is your key, and if ease of learning is your motto, then you should definitely go for native app development. I will recommend native app development because it's easier for easier for getting started. Okay, what's the difference between activities and services? In one line, foreground and background, but that's not it. So activity is something that is used to interact, the user interacts with the activity, and that's what's your main UI. Whereas services are something which are running in the background, or they're not interactable. Okay, so that's something which will remain even after the app is destroyed. So that's the main difference between activities and services, if I can summarize it. Okay, can we create custom UIs for list views, toasts, etc.? Yes. Okay. So toasts, as such, you cannot create a custom UI. You can create. you can add your own text and you can set the timings and all that. We got another component for that, that's called the snack bar, which you'll be able to customize a bit. And coming to list views, yes, you can add your custom like layout for each card to your list view, uh, and you can customize it the way you want. There's also a better alternative to a list view, which is called as the recycler view. So when you dive into Android app development, you will come to know about what is a recycler view and why is it used over list view. But yes, you can definitely customize your entire card for the list view. How to import our own images in the UI. Okay, so there are two ways to do this. One, you do it in the XML itself. Okay, and two, you can do it programmatically also. So in the XML, it's just as simple as getting in an image view and then setting the image from the drawable. In the Java part also, or in the coding section, in programmatically, you can also set it. As I had mentioned, you got something called as app resources. Okay, so app resources is basically that res folder that you get, and you can access it anywhere in the code by using R. R stands for resources. So yeah, if I want to access any image, so in HTML you get it src, right? So similarly, we have R dot drawable dot the image name or the image ID, and that's how we import it in our code. Okay, so I guess I explained this. Okay, so Gradle is basically a bundling tool, and it compiles all your Java files and all your resources, images, everything into one single publishable format. Okay, so that's basically why it's used. And you might have also heard many times Gradle builds taking longer than usual, and then like people are waiting forever. So that's what is Gradle if you want to check it out. Okay, so I think that's all, guys. We had a very wonderful session, and the GitHub link is in the comment section. You can check the completed app out there, and that's all.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for being a lovely audience. Thank you.